47 to 46%. For some thoughts on all of this, let's turn to Scott Jennings, who did political analysis for President George W. Bush. Scott, good to see you, sir. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, Brit.
Tell me, what's your sense, and just in raw political terms, of how the events of the weekend play?
Well, what's interesting about the events of this weekend is it really puts a spotlight on the fact that already 3/4 of the American people think the country is off on the wrong track. And in this election, Hillary Clinton is sort of running as the incumbent. And so to the extent that she is inheriting the mantle of incumbency here, she has to inherit what people think is wrong with the country as it relates to defending American citizens and American soil from terrorism. On the other hand, she doesn't really possess the same personal political skills as Barack Obama, so she gets all the warts of the Obama administration failures as people perceive it, but she doesn't have the same political skills to overcome it that he did in 2 elections.
So your thought would be that when the polling comes out that begins to reflect what happened over the weekend, it's likely to add to Donald Trump's momentum?
I think so. If you look inside the recent Fox News poll, you see that they're in a virtual dead heat on who voters trust to handle terrorism. Remember, Donald Trump has at one point, he has no experience at all dealing with this. She was senator during 9/11 and United States Secretary of State, and yet voters have a 1-point difference in who they trust to handle terrorism. That tells me they're not putting too much stock into her experience when it comes to dealing with these matters. And so to the extent that the world feels out of control less than 50 days before an election, I think that helps Trump because they're likely to blame the Obama-Clinton administration for the failures that are leading to the feeling of us being out of control.
What about the fact that her plan for addressing this problem of terrorism is more fleshed out, more detailed than Mr. Trump's? The Trump plan, he likes to say that he didn't want to give it away because he didn't want to let the enemy know what he's going to be up to. But aren't people likely to expect more than a rather general plan?
I think they will expect more, and he's going to have to come up with more detailed answers a week from tonight in the first debate. The trouble with Hillary's plan is it's largely the same plan that Obama's been running. So if you're someone who thinks the country's off on the wrong track, which is a vast majority of likely voters in every survey out there, then you think the terrorism plan that Obama's been running and that Clinton is endorsing is not working. So it strikes me that her challenge is to come up with something different than what they've already been doing. And Trump's challenge is to come up with more specifics. And both of these things are going to come to a head a week from tonight in the first debate.
Yeah, now what about that in your judgment? It's not specifically focused on national security as one of the later debates will be, but it's obviously going to come up, particularly in light of this weekend's terrorist bombings. Could she reverse the possible advantage? Might she, with her much deeper knowledge of these events, having lived them for so long, be in a position to reverse any advantage Mr. Trump might have with people's disaffection with the course of events?
She's going to have to come up with something different than what people have been hearing. I think one of the things hurting the Democratic ticket and really the Democratic Party in this year's elections is that people have come to hear these things as pablum. You know, we don't call terrorism what it is, radical Islamic terrorism. There's a lot of pablum, and you hear the same things over and over again, and you start to tune it out because I've heard this before, yet I don't feel any safer. She's got to come up with different language, a different way to describe what she wants to do, and maybe a new twist on how to fight terrorism, because right now, given what's in the news, people are judging that what we're doing is simply not working. We've had 8 years of this plan that she's endorsing. We don't feel any safer. We have attacks on American soil as we are on the cusp of a presidential election. It's really easy for Donald Trump to hit those softballs out of the park, although you can't hide in a two-person debate. He will have to come up with more specifics next Monday night and in the future debates that are focused on this issue. It won't be enough to say what he's saying, but right now he's got the advantage because Clinton's defending a record that seems to be failing as we watch the news events unfold.
Scott, thanks very much. In response, you bet.